And because the explanation sounds reasonable, most women respond by being understanding. They give space. They stop asking for time together. They lower their expectations temporarily because they don't want to seem demanding. But here's what most people miss. Real busyness changes someone's schedule, not their emotional priority. When a man genuinely values you, his communication may adjust, but it rarely disappears. He still checks in. He still makes small efforts to stay connected. He still protects the relationship from going silent. When busy turns into long emotional gaps, delayed replies, canceled plans with no effort to reschedule, or a sudden drop in consistency, it's usually not about time. It's about priority. Busyness becomes the socially acceptable cover for slow withdrawal. And the dangerous part is that the more understanding you become, the easier it is for the effort level to keep dropping. So what should you do? Don't argue about his schedule.
And because the explanation sounds reasonable, most women respond by being understanding. They give space. They stop asking for time together. They lower their expectations temporarily because they don't want to seem demanding. But here's what most people miss. Real busyness changes someone's schedule, not their emotional priority. When a man genuinely values you, his communication may adjust, but it rarely disappears. He still checks in. He still makes small efforts to stay connected. He still protects the relationship from going silent. When busy turns into long emotional gaps, delayed replies, cancelled plans with no effort to reschedule, or a sudden drop in consistency, it's usually not about time. It's about priority. Busyness becomes the socially acceptable cover for slow withdrawal. And the dangerous part is that the more understanding you become, the easier it is for the effort level to keep dropping. So what should you do? Don't argue about his schedule. Watch his pattern. If someone repeatedly claims to be busy, but never shows signs of protecting the connection, take the behavior as information. Effort is not measured by free time. It's measured by intention. The second phrase sounds even more respectful, which is why it traps so many people. I don't want to rush things. Now, on the surface, this sounds mature. It sounds like someone who values building something real instead of jumping into commitment too quickly. And at the beginning, moving slowly can absolutely be healthy. The problem appears when slow turns into permanently undefined. Weeks turn into months. Months turn into a year. The emotional closeness increases. The time spent together increases. The physical intimacy may even increase. Yet the relationship status never moves forward. Every time the topic comes up, the same sentence appears again. I don't want to rush. What this often really means is that he enjoys the benefits of connection without wanting the responsibility of commitment. Undefined relationships are comfortable for someone who wants companionship but still wants the freedom to walk away easily. And the longer that undefined space continues, the more emotionally invested the other person becomes, making it harder to leave later. So what should you do? Don't fight the pace. Clarify the direction. Slow progress is healthy. Permanent uncertainty is not. Someone who genuinely sees a future with you may move carefully, but they still move forward. The third phrase feels emotional and even vulnerable, which is why it often confuses people the most. You deserve better than me. At first, this can sound like insecurity or honesty. It may even sound like humility. And many women immediately respond by reassuring him. They say he's good enough. They say they don't want anyone else. They invest more emotional energy trying to prove their loyalty and support. But here's the uncomfortable truth. When someone repeatedly tells you that you deserve better, it is often not a compliment. It's a warning. It's a soft way of saying, I know I'm not going to meet your needs, but I also don't want to be the bad guy who leaves. Instead of openly ending things, the responsibility quietly shifts onto you. If you stay, it becomes your choice. If you get hurt later, he already told you who he was. This phrase often appears right before inconsistent behavior increases, emotional distance grows, or commitment stalls completely. So what should you do? Take statements like this seriously, instead of trying to fix them. When someone openly says they're not ready to be what you need, believe the message the first time. Reassurance cannot create readiness where it doesn't exist. The fourth phrase is the one that usually appears when the emotional shift has already started. I just need some space. Now, healthy space absolutely exists in strong relationships. People sometimes need time to think, reset, or handle personal stress. But healthy space always comes with communication and direction. There's clarity about what the space is for and roughly how long it will last. What often signals danger is vague space with no structure. Suddenly communication becomes minimal, plans stop, emotional availability drops sharply. And whenever you ask what's happening, the answer remains unclear. This type of space is often not about reflection. It's about gradual detachment. It allows someone to emotionally step back without officially ending the relationship, keeping the option open to return later if they feel like it. And during that waiting period, the other person often stays emotionally frozen, unsure whether to move on or hold on. So what should you do? Respect the request for space, but also protect your own clarity. Space without a shared understanding of what happens next should not turn into indefinite emotional limbo. And here's the part most people don't realize while they're inside these situations. None of these phrases are dangerous on their own. Anyone can be busy. Anyone can want to move slowly. Anyone can feel insecure. Anyone can need space. The problem is not the words themselves. The problem is when the words become patterns that slowly reduce effort, reduce clarity, and reduce emotional responsibility at the same time. Because real relationships are not defined by what someone says once. They are defined by what their behavior consistently builds over time. What often happens is that these phrases don't appear separately. They appear in sequence. First he's busy, then he doesn't want to rush, then he hints that you deserve better, and eventually he needs space. Each sentence sounds reasonable enough that it doesn't trigger an immediate breakup. Each one buys a little more time. Each one lowers your expectations just enough to keep the connection alive without requiring real commitment. And by the time the full pattern becomes clear, you've already spent months trying to be patient, supportive, and understanding. That's why this dynamic feels so frustrating. You weren't ignoring obvious red flags. You were responding to explanations that sounded fair in the moment. This is where many people fall into the same emotional trap. They start believing that if they just show more understanding, more patience, or more emotional support, things will stabilize. They think consistency will return once work calms down. They think commitment will happen once the timing feels right. They think emotional closeness will improve once he sorts out his stress. But here's the truth that saves people years of confusion. Genuine interest rarely needs endless perfect timing. When someone truly wants to build something with you, they may move carefully, but they don't move indefinitely in circles. They protect the connection even while life is complicated. They communicate even while they're stressed. They make their intentions clearer over time, not blurrier. Another important reality is that playing someone rarely starts with cruelty. It often starts with hesitation combined with convenience. He may like your company. He may enjoy your support. He may even care about you in certain ways. But liking someone is not the same as choosing them. Enjoying connection is not the same as committing to it. And when someone wants the emotional benefits of a relationship without the responsibility of building one, these soft, reasonable-sounding phrases become the perfect shield. They allow him to stay close enough to receive attention, affection, or companionship while still keeping the exit door quietly open. From the outside, nothing looks dramatically wrong, but internally, the relationship never becomes stable enough to feel secure. This is also why so many people blame themselves afterward. They replay conversations wondering if they pressured too much, expected too much, or misunderstood the situation. But most of the time, the real issue wasn't that you asked for too much. It's that you were responding to mixed signals that were never meant to become clear. A person who is truly emotionally available may not always know every answer immediately, but their behavior gradually moves toward clarity. A person who is emotionally half invested often moves toward prolonged uncertainty. And uncertainty, when it becomes the permanent state of a relationship, is not a temporary phase. It is the actual answer. So what exactly should you do when you hear these phrases? The solution is surprisingly simple, even though it feels emotionally difficult in the moment. Stop analyzing the explanation and start observing the pattern. Don't argue about whether he's truly busy. Watch whether he still protects communication. Don't debate whether moving slowly is reasonable. Watch whether progress actually exists. Don't comfort someone repeatedly when they say you deserve better. Notice whether their behavior is already showing you why they said it. Don't panic when someone asks for space. Notice whether the space has a clear purpose or simply creates emotional distance with no resolution. Patterns remove the need for guessing. Another powerful step is to shift one internal mindset. Instead of asking, "How do I make this work?" start asking, "Is this actually working?" That single question changes everything. Because when you focus only on making something work, you naturally become more tolerant of uncertainty, more forgiving of inconsistency, and more willing to carry emotional weight alone. But when you focus on whether something is already working, you start measuring the relationship by reality instead of potential. And relationships built on potential alone often stay stuck in the same cycle indefinitely. It's also worth remembering that protecting your time and emotional stability is not the same as being impatient. Healthy relationships don't require constant decoding. They don't require you to shrink your expectations just to keep someone comfortable. And they definitely don't require you to live in permanent emotional limbo while waiting for clarity that never fully arrives. Someone who genuinely wants you in their life will make the connection feel more stable as time passes, not more confusing. In the end, the four phrases themselves are not the true warning. The real warning is when those phrases slowly become the foundation of the relationship instead of temporary situations that get resolved. Because real love may move at different speeds, but it still moves forward. Real interest may face obstacles, but it still protects connection. And real commitment may take time, but it does not hide forever behind endless explanations. Once you understand that difference, something important shifts inside you. You stop chasing reassuring words. You start trusting consistent behavior. And when you trust behavior more than explanations, it becomes much harder for anyone to quietly play you without you noticing it early.